Hello and welcome to Math Lessons with Linda. Today's topic is how can we find all 6 trig values with a little bit of given information. So here is our problem today. We are given the cosine of an angle theta is equal to -4/5. And we are also given that the tangent of that theta has to be greater than 0. So with these 2 pieces of information, I need to narrow down what quadrant is my theta going to be in, and I'm going to do that by comparing these 2 values that I'm given. The cosine is negative if we are in either quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. The tangent is greater than 0, meaning that it's positive if we are in quadrant 1 or quadrant 3. For both of these things to be true, the overlap is when they both occur in quadrant 3. So that's what I'm going to do, is draw a right triangle that is in quadrant 3, and I'm going to label it with the information that I'm given so far. So when you draw your right triangle, your theta needs to be closest to the origin. Your right angle should be perpendicular here with the x-axis and then one of the sides of your triangle. And from the theta, we are going to label the value for cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So in my ratio that I was given, -4 would be the adjacent and 5 is my hypotenuse. There is a negative in front of the 4, even though typically we don't label lengths of sides as a negative. This is a negative value moving out onto my x-axis, and that's important when you are trying to find sine, cosine, other trig values to give them the correct positive or negative. So my third side, if you recognize this as a special Pythagorean triple, my other side is going to be a 3. But I'm also going to make it a negative because both the x and the y, meaning the sine and the cosine, are negative in quadrant 3. So that'll be useful when we start labeling our other values. We are all set to start finding our other 5 trig values. Remember, we already were given the cosine. So let's start off by finding the sine of theta and the tangent. These are sort of our 3 core trig values that we use. So for sine, remember that is from theta, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So my opposite here is -3 and my hypotenuse is still the 5. So my sine of theta is -3/5. For tangent, from here, tangent is opposite over adjacent. -3 over -4. And remember that tangent is supposed to be greater than 0, which means it's positive. These negatives cancel out when I divide, and this becomes +3/4. So I'm in good shape for that. Now, we have 3 other trig values to find. We have the cosecant, the secant, and the cotangent. So each of these 3 trig functions has a buddy. The cosecant, I like to call them buddies, is friends with the sine. And what that means is that they are reciprocal trig functions. So in order to find the value of cosecant, all I have to do is go up to sine and take the reciprocal. So this becomes -5/3 for my cosecant. The secant is friends with the cosine, and they are reciprocals. So since the cosine was -4/5, secant is -5/4. And my last one is the cotangent, friends with the tangent. They're reciprocals. So this is 4/3. And now, using my given information, setting up my triangle, I have found all 6 trig values in my right triangle.